Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our founding partners for their foresight in helping us transform the way conversations start. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations creating integrated communications committed to improving lives. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. Something you hear often on the program is the word collaboration. In many cases, it's a necessity. In others, it's optional. But there are a few organizations whose sole purpose is to serve multiple nonprofits. Some serve as a resource, others as a funding source, but they all work to provide access to the nonprofit community and generate collaborative efforts. This episode is about one of those organizations, and you're going to learn all about what it is they do and how they do it, for the greater benefit of all. My guest is the CEO of Social Venture Partners. You may or may not be familiar with them by their name, but as you'll hear in the discussion, you're likely to know some of their programs as they get great visibility in the community and have significant impact to the participating nonprofits. He would be considered a mission-driven business person, a community entrepreneur. He spent the first half of his career as a technology executive, starting and growing a number of SaaS software companies. He has a knack for developing healthy organizational culture by aligning mission and values into his teams. After a successful exit from technology, he's now engaged in social entrepreneurship and has created a local food bank for its town, developed a 1-acre organic vegetable farm on the food bank property, and is well invested into strengthening and growing programs and organization in his local community as well as the greater Sacramento region. As CEO for Social Venture Partners, he's building communities of philanthropy to strengthen nonprofits in the greater Sacramento area. He works alongside the region's key leaders to create partnerships and collaboration, there's that word again, in the nonprofit ecosystem to address some of the region's most difficult social challenges. Brad Squires, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thanks for having me.
So Social Venture Partners, the next generation of venture philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the organization, can you explain a little bit what is venture philanthropy?
Yeah, I'd say what distinguishes venture philanthropy from just traditional philanthropy is kind of a little bit more engagement from the donor, where, typical philanthropy is just, giving money, investing resources into a nonprofit, a social cause. With venture philanthropy, I think it couples more time and engagement, maybe serving on a board, being a professional resource, advisor, support, and also sharing connections. So it goes beyond, I think, just traditional donations.
Yeah, just a contribution of $1 and I'm out.
Yeah, which is great too.
Yes.
But if you can get engaged in your philanthropy, I think it's really meaningful.
Yeah, I agree. I think the individual that gets engaged tends to have a better understanding of whatever it is they're interested in supporting.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that understanding, walk us through a higher level overview of Social Venture Partners, if you would.
Yeah, so we say we're a venture approach to philanthropy. So Social Venture Partners, Sacramento, so we're one of many affiliates all over the country. We're the Sacramento affiliate. And so we're looking at Sacramento-based nonprofits and how can we build capacity? How can we help connect them to donors and connections that will help them advance their mission? So we bring together a network of generosity, we call it, a network of those that want to do good and give time and money. We call them partners, and they're part of our group called Social Venture Partners. And then we collectively invest in a variety of nonprofits each year.
And you mentioned time and money. I know you've got this 5T thing, time, talent, treasure.
Yeah.
There's two others
Testimony and ties. Yeah. So we talk about what does it mean to be a social venture partner. We kind of define that by just living generously with 5 T's. And we talk about the time, talent, treasure, testimony, and ties. And so we've all heard time, talent, treasure, which
Right.
is, engaging, just being present and listening to and hearing and understanding nonprofits, but also, of course, engaging professionally with skills, skills-based volunteering. A lot of times we think about volunteering and it's maybe sorting cans at the food bank or pushing a broom or doing something that's more manual labor. But I think if you can leverage your skills and invest that via your talents, that's really meaningful. Then, of course, treasures is the finances. All nonprofits need money and funding to kind of make things work. The two that we've kind of added to that, the testimony and ties, testimony being, when I hear a great story or a great impact that an organization's making, I want to make sure I'm telling people in my circles about that and spreading the good word. So it's just really kind of being an advocate for good causes and great organizations. And then one of my favorites and probably the most meaningful potentially is ties, like the idea of how can I share my network and my connections and the people that are in my circle, how can I share that with a nonprofit that may need to know certain people? So just being generous with all those is what it means to be a social venture partner.
And the ties is an expectation of most board members anyhow. That's nobody's codified it that way and put it into the T's, which I really like.
Yeah, it just creates a nice little acronym, just to helps explain
sequence
what
of
it
alliteration, right?
Yeah, exactly. Five T's. Helps you remember what they are.
My wife's name is Teresa, and we call her T.
Okay.
So I've got lots of T's in my house, right? And she is one T, and that is all there is in the household is that one T.
That's one T. That's great.
You're a very multifaceted organization, and you facilitate a lot for a lot of different organizations as well. So you feed nonprofits. Tell us about that direct connection you have to the nonprofit organizations, because you have two resources. You have the partners, which we'll talk about in a minute, but then you have the recipients, which are the nonprofits.
Yeah.
How does that connection work?
I mean, I like to think of all of them as partners. One is maybe a fund partner and the other being a nonprofit partner, but we're all partnering together for good and trying to do good in the region. So we work with a variety of nonprofits, mostly through initially our Fast Pitch program. So we have a program that is helping nonprofits tell their story. It's a 4-month program, and we'll talk more, I'm sure, about that specifically, but that's kind of our on-ramp for nonprofits. And once they go through that program, then they're sort of part of the SVP family. And we do other things throughout the year to engage our partners with their work. So, yeah, that's it.
What are some of the ways funding from SVP gets into the hands of the nonprofits?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's the direct source, but that's not the only way, is it?
No, I mean, it's the programs we have. If we want to talk about some of our programs, Fast Pitch being kind of our main and bigger program, and that's, again, helping nonprofits tell their story. It's a 4-month program where nonprofits work with 2 partners and really work on a 3-minute concise, compelling pitch to tell the story about what they do. And then there's an event at the end, a Fast Pitch showcase, where we've got a whole pool of awards and grants and opportunities for them to build funding that way. But we're also doing an Accelerator program, which is each year selecting one organization that we can really go big behind and really rally our whole network and some funding behind to help propel them in their impact. Trying to take some specific metrics and advance them forward. So,
how do you identify the person or the organization that's going to be the recipient of the Accelerator program?
We have an application process, and a lot of it's just relationship. It's trust-based, and we talk a lot about trust-based philanthropy and the idea of just being, again, kind of along the lines of the 5 T's, just being in relationship and conversation with leaders of these organizations helps to understand why they do what they do, the mechanics of their business, and how can we best support them. So it really starts with just building that relationship.
Does the Accelerator recipient have to be somebody that's gone through the Fast Pitch program?
So the way we kind of design it is all of our programs start with Fast Pitch, and then other things come out of that. That's kind of the start of the relationship.
Sort of the incubator of sorts.
Yeah, and for us, it's a way to really build through that 4-month process, we build a deep connection, and we really dive into why they do what they do, how they do it, and again, help them tell their story. So it's a great foundational program.
And I've seen examples of that on the website from Fast Pitch.
Yeah.
Is that held at at Arco? Or I'm sorry.
We do the
Golden One
at the Sophia. So
Okay.
last year this will be our 10th year.
Let's edit that out. I dated myself by saying Arco.
So there have been a variety of venues over the years, but the Sophia is where we have the event. And so last year we did it. We sold it out. It was an amazing experience. We had 15 nonprofits go through the program. We had 8 on stage at the showcase, and it ended up being a great night of celebrating the work that they put in.
And 8 made it to the finalists.
Right.
How many do you get in origination? How many?
15.
Okay.
Yeah, we start with 15. So we have an application process, which is coming up in end of May. It'll be open through June. We'll have an application coming out.
Is that the normal time? So every May, every June?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this,
coming
so
up.
we don't date the episode.
Yeah.
It's every May, every June
Every
that this
May,
comes
June.
up. Good.
And then our partners get a chance to review all the applications in July, which gives them an opportunity to learn about all these organizations and pick our 15, the class of the 20, the year. So, and then from there we go through some coaching in the fall, and in November we have a big showcase event for Fast Pitch.
How many applications do you get in total?
Last year we had over 40.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so a lot of interest in the program, and it's interesting. We just recently did a Fast Pitch Where They Now video recording with KJ2 Productions, and they did an amazing job for us recording 5 interviews of organizations that have been through the program, and just to hear the success stories and the impact beyond just the event itself. They're still using their pitch years and years beyond the process they went through.
Yeah, well, based on what I saw, it was a quick little Shark Tank presentation.
Yeah.
For people to really understand what that is in a very condensed way.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like a Shark Tank TED Talk for nonprofits.
Abbreviated.
Abbreviated. But really, it's all about developing those connections and capacity. And for the partners, it's all about them finding ways to invest their 5 T's into these organizations in some way.
So I'm an organization that gets some sort of reciprocity from Fast Pitch.
Yeah.
How am I held accountable? How do you know I did what I'm supposed to do, or what are the criteria once you get an award?
So it really, like I said, it boils down to relationship. It's we keep in touch with all these organizations on a regular basis. So the funding that they receive from Fast Pitch, usually it's not life-changing, game-changing type funding in that setting, but the whole idea is now that they have that pitch defined, can they then use that in future opportunities with donors, with volunteers, with larger groups? If they go to a Rotary Club and they can just kind of share a 3-minute, concise, compelling explanation of what they do, why they do it, it helps move people to action. So it's really that follow-on funding where the big value comes into play. But as far as accountability for us, we just kind of keep in touch with them and have a relationship on a regular basis.
What I really like about this is that organization makes the commitment. You said it's over 4 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a 4-month commitment to really polishing and refining that presentation so that they can be more professional, tell a better story in a shorter period of time to different people. That parlays really nicely with what we do because we give them the expanded version of it.
Yes.
And I think I'll have to watch a little bit closer where we're overlapping. And in some cases, those organizations that take the time and the commitment to go through Fast Pitch, whether they win or not, are certainly a little bit more dedicated, a little bit more committed, a little bit more willing to do the work than some others.
Right.
And we know that they'll take those stories and perpetuate them the way we want them to.
Right. Yeah. No, it's great. I was at a big day of giving, a networking event a few weeks ago, and Elaine from the Folsom Codorma Community Partnership, she walked in and she had a big smile on her face. She saw me and she sought me out. She's like, "Hey, I used my pitch this morning and I got a $5,000 donation."
Awesome.
And I was standing there with Tara Taylor from Single Mom Strong, who went through Fast Pitch a couple years ago, and she's like, "Yeah, I use my pitch all the time." She said, "I'm at least in the $70,000-$80,000 range in terms of how much value I've produced from just that one pitch." So,
aren't those great stories to hear?
amazing.
Yeah, that means it worked. It's tangible and it worked.
Yeah.
So on that accountability, what are some of the things that you look for in their follow-up after they get their gift? or their award?
Yeah, like I said, it's just we don't dig into specific financial things or anything like that. We don't.
Okay.
We do on the front end. We'll make sure that the organization's well run, that they have a budget, that their leadership is intact. They have a board. They've got a defined marketing plan, mission statement, just some of the basics of a business.
Yes.
That's on the front end of Fast Pitch. Beyond that, like I said, it's really more about trust. And we don't require audits or anything like that beyond just the initial process.
Well, I like the fact that you said a business.
Yep.
Because so many people
Nonprofits are
forget.
business.
Exactly right. So many people forget this is a business. The
Yeah.
fact that it's got a different tax status is
tax status.
no different than the fact that somebody else is running a business.
And a different
that's
revenue
commercial.
model, of course. But I mean, it is,
Yeah.
you got to run a nonprofit like a business.
Yes.
With all the same principles.
Totally agreed. Speaking of nonprofits and perceptions, a lot of our youth don't really get it. But you've got a youth program that I found really, really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Our SVP Kids program has really ramped up the last few years. We've got 10 or 15 kids that are involved, and they are doing the same thing that the big partners are doing, the adult partners are doing, right? They're raising money, they're doing volunteer service, so they're also engaging with our Fast Pitch alumni as part of our nonprofit partners. So they're trying to do something every month.
Is there an age range on that? On the youth
most
program?
of the SVP kids are in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's the main focus.
Okay. When somebody's engaged with the organization, and by somebody I mean the nonprofit partner.
Yeah.
Not the funding partner. It's not just Fast Pitch, and it's not just going for money. You do a variety of other things that support nonprofits.
Yeah.
What are some of those activities?
Well, I like to think about we're a part of the nonprofit ecosystem, and we're helping to bridge gaps, build relationships, and even building relationships between partners is valuable. So we do once a quarter, we'll get our partners together for dinner, and we'll bring in some of our nonprofit partners to share about what's happening. But that's partly social, but it's also about sharing best practices, ideas with other, generous folks in the community that want to do good and do better, but just maybe aren't exposed to all the things going on. So I feel like we're a bit of an ecosystem builder in that sense.
And you're connected. This is the part that I like about organizations like yourself. The collaborative effort is in so many different spaces.
Right.
So you collaborate with other multi-nonprofit organizations, not unlike the Impact Foundry or the Community Foundation.
Right.
But you're also seeking to connect the nonprofits themselves.
Sure.
It's
amazing.
A continuum. It never stops. You come across a food situation. Well, I've got another organization that's food related, or you come across a homeless and or a families and youth, whatever they may be. You can connect those dots.
I love it. It's amazing. Even just among our class last year with Fast Pitch, they made such great connections, and they started doing some collaborative things together.
On their own?
On their own.
Love it.
Just because they had this platform, this opportunity, kind of a shared experience that they can then build from. But there's so much potential for collaborative opportunities for nonprofits working together. A lot of times they're working with the same populations, same end users, and maybe providing just complementary or different services. And so to be able to share resources, ideas, best practices is just so rich. And that's another way to do capacity building by helping them become more operationally efficient.
I know we see the same thing with organizations, and let's say they're in Placer County or Sacramento County, whatever it may be. And I always ask, well, are you familiar with?
Right.
It's amazing how many times they aren't.
I know.
They don't know. It's like, well, you will now because we're going to connect you to.
Right. That exposure is so critical.
Isn't it?
And so we're trying to create more platforms like that, like just doing, because we do a Coffee Connect mixer once a quarter, and we usually have 25 to 30 nonprofits just come together, and we invite our partners, and it's just a real simple connection point, but just the relationships that are built in that setting is really, really meaningful.
We'll be back with more on the Nonprofit Podcast Network right after this. I was in the media business for over 35 years and had the great privilege of working with Runyon Saltzman, RSE, Marketing, Advertising, and Public Relations. We collaborated on many different campaigns, but their commitment to the nonprofit sector hasn't changed since their founder, Gene Runyon, started the agency. Over many years and many campaigns, Runyon Saltzman has been committed to improving lives by tackling California's most challenging issues. Guided by research-informed strategies and insightful, creative solutions, RSE develops innovative communications campaigns that raise awareness, educate, and reduce stigma in diverse communities throughout our state and beyond. To learn more about RSE, visit rs-e.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. Let's shift from the nonprofit side of things to the actual funding partner side.
Yeah.
How does one become involved as one of the funding partners?
Yeah. So we have, at this point, we have about 55 partners that have each decided to contribute to our annual impact fund. So that's kind of how we think about it. It's kind of like a venture approach to philanthropy. So there are investors, funders, if you will, and so we're pooling their resources into a fund and then deploying those into the community. And so that's kind of a collective giving strategy here. So partners are giving, we say just give a meaningful gift. It's a minimum $2,000 a year. But we have partners that are giving $5,000, $10,000, just whatever is meaningful to them. The whole idea is it's not an arm twist. It's like we're here to be generous, and so just make a donation that feels generous to you, and all of those funds then get invested into the ecosystem.
From the partner side of things, again, back on the funding side, what are the expectations besides your money? Because I know you want more than.
Yeah, I mean,
money's nice, but
sure. There's a concept of a silent partner, which is somebody that just wants to be generous, likes the mission, likes the idea of the leverage they're getting on their gift. Right? If you're giving $2,000, that turns into $100,000 collectively invested. That's just sort of meaningful to give together.
Yep.
But we would love our partners to get engaged. We do site tours, so we'll pick a nonprofit partner and we'll just do a visit and learn about them firsthand. That's kind of one of those 5 T's, the time, right? Just spending the time to learn about. So there's not a lot of expectation. There's no requirement. But like anything, we encourage and want to have them involved. We try to do one thing a month for our partners.
I was just going to ask, how often is there something that...
Whether it's a dinner, whether it's a networking event, we do these things called think tankathons, which is kind of cool. It's just a one-night strategic advisory board where we get 20 to 25 of our partners, 2 nonprofits presenting a big problem or big opportunity, and we just come together and try to help where we can. Again, whether it's advice and thoughts and questions, or hey, I know this person that you should connect with, and we make some connections right there, real time. It's really powerful.
I was going to say that to have 25 or 20, even 15 is really significant, because even if you're at the SBA and you asking questions for the SBA mentor program, it's 1 or 2 people.
Sure. Yeah.
But to get that intellectual equity of that many people is huge.
Yeah, and it's meaningful for the partners to have a chance to really engage their skill sets, whether they're finance or marketing or HR, whatever their kind of focus is. They can bring that lens to whatever problem we're trying to solve.
I can just see the poor nonprofit walking away with their heads, heads spinning. Like, how much of this do I have to do? Do I really have to do all of that?
Yeah, lots of ideas.
Right.
Yeah. So it is. So that's one of our programs that we really enjoy.
Yeah, I like that. You have a lot of similarity in operation and style to a community foundation, whichever it may be, El Dorado Hills or Sacramento. What are the real differences if you kind of separate yourself out?
Yeah. Well, I think community foundations operate more like a bank where they're housing funding, right? But we're all about building capacity. I think there's a lot of similarities in that sense. But we're trying to do more in the programmatic sense, maybe than just the funding. So we have a lot more engagement with our partners to have opportunity to be with nonprofits. The thing is, there's thousands of nonprofits in Sacramento, so there's so much room.
13,000 to be exact.
Right. There's so much room for capacity building efforts where it's engaging, whether it's funding or time or money, whatever the resources are, engaging that for the purpose of growing impact. So I think there's a lot of room for all these things to exist.
I would agree with that many. And of course, maybe cut it in half. It's still 6,000, 6,500. It's a lot of nonprofits.
Yeah, exactly.
I think second only to Washington, D.C. in per capita.
Right.
Nonprofits.
And there's some great programs like community foundations. I know they have their own programs, which are great, like the Big Day of Giving. And at one point they had a program called The Lab, which was a really good training program. There's other things in the region like Impact 100. Amazing what they're doing.
Evelyn Jensen's
similar
doing a great
collective
job.
Giving effort. There's a program called Barnabas Group that I'm also part of that is similar. But again, each one of them are working with a handful of organizations to really grow their capacity, and you've got thousands.
Well,
So,
and then we see things too that are
lot of work to do.
specializing in particular linear segments, like foster youth, the Alliance.
The Alliance,
where it just stays in a vertical that is specific to its purpose.
Yep.
So it is. It's great to see that we have that in Sacramento, and I would guess that maybe that's a little unique to our community.
It may be. Like I think it's really difficult actually to fundraise for these capacity building programs, like the Alliance and some of these like SVP and Impact 100. They're sort of meta in nature. They're just building support for nonprofits. They're not perhaps meeting the direct need, right? They're not the food bank or the women's shelter or whatever that might be. And so to be able to create more of these is really meaningful because they do grow the overall capacity of our region.
If you had a greatest need for social venture partners at this point in time, we've got a captive audience. People are listening. They're engaging with the conversation. What would the ask be? What would you say is your greatest need to fuel and continue to do what you do?
It's like anything. It's people power. It's just there's a lot of folks that have a lot to offer. I think our target is someone who's, perhaps like near retirement, retired. That's the ideal SVP candidate that's got, some money to give and also time where they can invest that time and really come alongside some of these programs, like running our think tankathons or being a fast pitch coach. Really a great opportunity to engage. So people power, like anything, is always the key. So new partners would be great, trying to ramp that up, and then partners that want to be engaged with their time.
Yeah, I like that because it's not just, we need more money. Money isn't the essence of it all in this particular situation.
Yeah, and it's rich and meaningful. Like to be able to come alongside a organization that's doing good work and making the world better. And to be able to use my skill set and my networks and my talents for good is just, that's what life's about.
That changes the perspective, too. I think a lot of people get into a situation where, whether they're a board member or they're on involved in a community organization, and it's like, I got to go raise money. But when you think about what you're doing and just connecting, if the story's told appropriately or properly, it really is. It's just about helping others in a situation.
Yeah.
And you find like-minded people, it's easy to get their involvement.
And it's a joy to give. I mean, I think it's almost giving people an opportunity to experience the joy of giving, right? I love being generous.
Right.
I love being able to give, whether it's money is great, but to be able to give my time, advice, network, all the things is just rich. So I just encourage anybody who's sitting on the sideline in that sense, find a way to give somewhere. And, ultimately you're making the world better.
Well, and to the point of giving, grateful, gratitude, it's a visceral experience.
It's great. That's,
you change a neural pathway every time you do something good.
Right.
So the more good, the better we all are for it.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of that sentiment.
You aligned a couple of stories. Is there anybody that you saw in the process over the last couple of years? Maybe they came into, fast pitch or something. maybe they were a train wreck coming in, and
Sure.
here they are today, and you're so proud of what they've done and what they've accomplished and what they look like. Without, I want to be careful to respect whomever the organization is, but where you can comfortably share something.
Totally. I have a couple of those, but one I know I was backstage at Fast Pitch for our showcase, and it's a fairly high intensity environment, right? You're having to go on stage, big lights and cameras, and lots of people in the audience. And one of the guys that was participating last year, he's backstage. It's like literally just his palms are sweating. He's like, I'm like, are you okay? Everything good? He went out and just nailed it, you know, and I just saw the confidence that built in him as just some personal growth even, right? So that was cool. And then the other thing that was fun is watching from my vantage point, just getting to orchestrate this program and watching the connections happen. Like watching some of our coaches, like I know one of them, Andy Beal, he's one of our coaches, and he's a recently retired tech guy, and he was coaching Opening Doors, and just fell in love with their organization. And he has now since joined their board, and he's helping to organize some of their capital campaigns and really engaging beyond just the coaching experience. But that happened because that platform, the relationship formed, and he just found a new passion.
That's a great experience, and that's the kind of guy you love to have on your board.
He's a great guy.
You have somebody like that who's coaching you through and sees all the opportunity, and then engages with the organization's mission.
Right. Yeah.
What a nice slide in.
No, it's amazing. For me, what I get to experience, I get to hang out with the most generous people in the community, because they're naturally drawn to this mission that we're on.
Right.
And so it's just really rewarding to be able to kind of hang out with people that want to make the world better.
Well, Brad, thank you for what you're doing with the programs, with our nonprofits, by engaging additional funders who are exposed to things that maybe they wouldn't have been exposed to before. The way the organization operates and its collaboration. It's a big word. I know it's overused in the nonprofit space so often.
Overused, underutilized.
And I was just going to say, but not exercised properly.
Yeah, right.
And the new one is impact.
Totally.
But the expected output of that collaboration is impact, and it's something that we can gauge and measure and see. But Social Venture Partners is contributing to that. And along with those other collaborative groups that exist in the community, I think the more the better, because we have plenty of nonprofits that can use the support.
Totally.
So, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it. And I appreciate you being on the program today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love what you're doing here. Keep it up.
Thanks, Brad. Oh, I am. Thank you.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. If you have a need for the services or products our sponsors offer, please reach out to them. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations, creating integrated communications committed to improving lives. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is a production of, is recorded at, and edited by Hear Me Now Studio.